Welcome back to A Slice of News, where I cut you off a slice of news. The 2026 midterm elections are looking like they're going to be a pretty solid win for Democrats, and it's got the Republicans pretty scared. They're looking at a solid chance of losing their majority in the House and a much smaller majority in the Senate. We may all be stuck with President Trump for the next couple of years, but his ability to do whatever he wants with impunity, because his party has control of both the House and Senate, may be at an end. And I think they have every reason to be scared because people are starting to realize that Republican control of the government has not been doing them a whole lot of favors, and that mostly they've been sold a lot of promises that have not been delivered on. Unless you're amongst the billionaires who got tax breaks thanks to the president's big, beautiful bill, I think you'd be hard pressed to find anywhere where the Republican government has made your life noticeably better than it was during the previous administration. I find it almost amusing that during the 2024 campaign, those on the right love to say, oh, well, is your life any better than it was 4 years ago? As a way of saying, oh, well, Biden's policies and governance have failed, so you have to vote for Trump because he'll make things better. When the lived reality now is he's really done the absolute opposite, and the Biden years only seem to look even better in retrospect. Democrats running in this upcoming 2026 election could very easily run on that very same platform. Is your life any better than it was 4 years ago? The answer would probably be no, if voters were honest. We think that grocery prices being at an all-time high under President Trump and healthcare costs only soaring, it seems unfortunately clear that not only are things not any better than they were under Biden, but there really doesn't feel like there's any plan to actually make them get better. The best the Republicans seem to be able to come up with is, oh, just trust the president. Things will get better if you'll just give him the time, trust the plan. But since it's increasingly clear that there is no plan, and there never has been, I don't really know what they expect their voters to actually believe in. And also be patient and trust the president? These are the same people who told their voters under Biden, unless he was giving them what they wanted immediately, he was already a failure. So with a voter base that demands immediate gratification, I don't really see how they can expect them to reverse and be patient and just let the president work his magic. Republicans are just not making a very solid case as to why they should be allowed to remain in power, given how very little they've actually delivered in their time in power and how much real damage they've been doing to the American economy. They want the people's trust, their faith, and their vote, of course, and they've really not shown any reason to have earned that. And I get the sense that American voters are doing what they love to do and say, well, it's not working under this guy, let's try the other guys again. And Democrats are far from a perfect party. They have a lot of flaws and a lot of things to work on between now and even next year, let alone another administration. It seems fairly clear, especially following the recent elections where Democrats made huge gains, that there actually is a growing faith amongst the American populace that Democrats are at least marginally better than what we have right now. So there's a solid chance that when people walk into the voting booth next year, Republicans are in for a very bad time. The president's approval rating has sunk down to 41.9%, according to recent polling, and his disapproval rating has risen to 55.7%, which means that less than half of the polled population approves of him and more than half of them disapprove of him. And this is the guy voters are supposed to have their faith in to usher the country forward in the next few years? It'd be a hard sell in the best of times, and these are far from the best of times. It's getting to a point that many Republican lawmakers actually expect to lose the House, citing the trend that the party in power often does poorly in midterm elections. And it's really not hard to see that outcome. They only have a 219 to 213 majority, so it'd almost be shocking if they didn't manage to lose at least 4 seats. While it's obviously presumptuous to already declare a 2026 win over Republicans, it's really seeming like Republicans' fear of a loss of power is not without merit. While it's tough to say if anybody won the recent government shutdown, with many seeing Democrats having caved at the 43-day mark as a sign that they were weak and unable to stand up to Republicans when it came to guaranteeing the extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies. By the end of it, the myth of the Democrat shutdown was all but dispelled. People rightfully blamed Republicans for that shutdown and saw just how cruel they could be when they wanted to. As I've said previously, a lot of people have a short-term memory, but a lot of people also remember. And while memories of the shutdown may not be quite as fresh in their mind, they still will remember just how badly the Republican Party handle that, and they will vote accordingly to make sure that they are not around much longer. Because when it came down to it, Republicans failed the working class when they have always promised to be the champions of the working class. While an undoing of Republicans' House majority is fairly likely, Democrats should actually fairly easily make the Senate a 50-50 split by picking up 3 seats in the Senate after these midterm elections. And while Republicans would still have an edge because they have Vice President J.D. Vance as their tie-breaking vote, an evenly split Senate would not make their plans as easy to push through as they have been while they still had a majority. There's even a chance, however slim, that Democrats could actually pick up enough seats in the Senate to reverse the majority there as well. A hypothetical Democratic majority in both the House and Senate be a check on the seemingly unchecked power of the president, the likes of which he's never seen but has sorely needed. I think in a lot of ways, the reason we are where we are as a country is because for too long, there's been no one who can really say no or stop the president's ambitions. Donald Trump has long believed that as president, he can do whatever he wants, and he's been emboldened by the fact that everyone around him has basically said, yeah, you can. So this reining in of power would be incredibly beneficial for all of us. But I guess the big question is this actually possible, and would it be enough? To that question, I would say maybe. Republicans can definitely see the writing on the wall, and as a result are doing everything in their power to gerrymander everywhere they possibly can, because they know that a fair election means that they will lose. The political tides are absolutely turning and not in their favor, so they're changing the map to where they can to make sure that Republicans win in states where they desperately need to win to make sure that they don't lose their grip on power entirely. As a result, Democrats have done a bit of their own gerrymander plans themselves, but when it comes to gerrymandering elections to make sure that your party wins over the party that the people actually want, nobody can beat Republicans. They are the masters in that regard. And that's not even getting into the massive amounts of voter suppression that Republicans attempt to do whenever it becomes election time. They pull out all the stops at making it hard to vote for anyone that's not Republican. The Democrats may have a hard time just getting the votes in for their candidates. So assuming all the Republican election shenanigans are not able to stop Democrat candidates from winning, is it realistic to expect a change in the composition of power in Congress? Might we be seeing a majority Democrat House and possibly even a Democrat majority Senate under this Republican president, as Republicans are fearing? As much as I'd love to see it, I think a Democrat majority Senate may be setting expectations a little high. I do think I would love to see it, and I would be glad if it occurred, but I'm not holding my breath there. But I do think that when it comes to the House, Republicans are definitely going to see their majority go, and I will relish seeing Mike Johnson become the minority leader. If there's one thing Republicans don't like, it's minorities, and definitely don't like being one. I think for the first time since Donald Trump took office, things are actually starting to look up for Democrats, and there's something to actually feel hopeful for in the future. But at the same time, it's also important to remember the Democratic Party excels at grasping defeat from the jaws of success. When things are looking good for them, they always seem to find a way to mess it up at the last minute. So unfortunately, we can't entirely rule that out either. But on the whole, it seems like the country is really starting to wake up to the fact that Republicans have just run this country into the ground and have absolutely no plans to get it out. And many of the Trump voters are realizing just how badly they were deceived. And they aren't likely to forget that feeling of betrayal when it comes voting time. Many people are very unhappy about the way things are going in this country, and when they're that unhappy, they vote like it. Republicans would have to pull some sort of super miracle to get them out of this slump, and if you ask me, they don't have it in them. Republicans are scared about losing their power, and they should be, because that power should be taken away from them. Because as we've seen time and time again, Republicans simply do not know how to govern. When they are given the reins of power, they don't know what to do with them, and the ones who suffer for it are the American people. I look forward to huge victories in the upcoming midterm election for Democrats, which will catapult them into a huge victory in the general election in 2028. And that's what Republicans are really afraid of. Not just losing out in the midterms, but just losing out entirely. And given just how bad things are under Republican rule right now, I think short of massive amounts of cheating and fraud and election interference, there is no way Republicans win the presidency in 2028. So at most, they have the next 3 years of power, and that's it for them. And they know it. So as it stands, the ball is in the Democrats' court. The midterm elections are theirs to lose, and this surge of momentum is theirs to miss out on. But for once, I think they really are seeing just how high the stakes are and how vital it is that they don't drop the ball this time. And I optimistically feel like maybe they won't. For once, they're really going to take that ball to the hoop and make a slam dunk and get as many Republicans out of government as they can. That's what I'm hoping to see anyway. How accurate Republicans' fears become remains to be seen. And a lot can happen in just 1 year. So right now, all we can do is wait. Alright guys, that'll be it for this episode of A Slice of News. I've been your host, Mr. Slice, and until next time when I cut you off another slice of news.